besties, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here. Today we are joined at my bookshelves because we are doing a very exciting reading vlog. I am going to be reading the highest and lowest rated on Goodreads that is on my physical TBR. So my want to read shelf on Goodreads consists entirely of my physical TBR. There are no other books on there, just the books that I own that I'm yet to read. So I'm going to go onto my Goodreads, I'm going to set the order from highest to lowest rating, and whatever's at the top and whatever's at the bottom is what we're going to be reading in this video. I have got a pretty substantial physical TBR. I think there are over 130 books that I'm yet to read. And I'm making it my mission this year to try and tackle my physical TBR because we're getting a little bit out of control over here. So let's not waste any time and let's check Goodreads and see what my highest and lowest rated books are that I own. So I'm going to go onto my want to read and I'm going to set the order from highest to lowest rating. So the highest rated book is actually Kingdom of Ash, which is right here, but I can't read that one because unfortunately I have not started the Throne of Glass series. So we're going to have to go to the next highest rated one, which is actually The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, which also happens to be down here on my TBR cart. This book absolutely terrifies me. Not because of any of the content in the book, but because this is historical fiction and I am yet to read any historical fiction. But I've heard incredible things about Kristen Hanna and about her writing and the way she can tell a story that is so heartwarming. So it says, this story is about what it's like to be a woman during World War II when women's stories were all too often forgotten or overlooked. Vianne and Isabel are two sisters separated by years and experience, by ideals and passion and circumstance, each embarking on their own dangerous path towards survival, love and freedom in war-torn France. It is a heartbreakingly beautiful novel that celebrates the resilience of human spirit and the endurance of women. This is a novel for everyone. A novel of a lifetime. It sounds incredible, but it's also so incredibly out of my comfort zone. And for that reason alone, I'm scared. I don't like going out of my comfort zone. I like to stay in my romantasy and my romance era. But apparently this year we are embarking on new journeys and we are going to read the highest rated book, The Nightingale, which actually has an average of 4.64 stars on Goodreads, which is actually a very high rating. For reference, Kingdom of Ash has a 4.71 star rating, and this is really not far behind that. So now let's see what the lowest rated book is on my Goodreads list. I'm so scared, I don't want to look. Oh! Lowest rated book on my Goodreads physical TBR is actually Never by Jessa Hastings. It feels illegal to be holding this in my hands because I had the honour and privilege of meeting Jessa Hastings when she came to Manchester, and I chose to have this book personally signed by Jessa herself. This is my prized possession, and no, I've not read it yet, so I'm genuinely scared to be touching it. Jessa Hastings herself has touched and signed this book. So this is actually a Peter Pan retelling, and it says, never is an awfully long time. Growing up, Daphne always knew Peter Pan would come for her, the way he'd come for her mother and her grandmother Wendy before that, the darling girls. Their stories are always the same, the forever young boy at their window after their 13th birthday and the shimmering magical land behind the star. When Peter doesn't show for Daphne until she's 17, inexplicably full grown and with no excuse for his tardiness, Daphne doesn't know what to think. Still, she has always been told that Peter Pan is her destiny. It's beyond choice to take his hand and leap into the stars no matter what comes next. But in Neverland, Peter's true colours begin to show. One moment he's making Daphne's heart flutter and the next he's forgotten her entirely. So when Daphne stumbles into the path of Jameson Hook, the pirate son of Peter's nemesis, she lets herself get swept up in his vulgar charm despite the warning signs. Both boys are trouble, both have dangerous secrets about the strange fantasy land they call home, and if she loses her heart to either one, Daphne might just lose herself too. This sounds so magical, so exciting. I absolutely love Peter Pan, and I think all girls my age can agree that the 2003 Peter Pan movie with this guy here, I don't know his name, he had a chokehold on us. I, as an adult, still absolutely love that movie, and I love the story of Peter Pan and the books. I'm extremely excited to pick this one up. I can't believe this is the lowest rated book on my physical TBR. This has an average rating of 3.42, which in the 3-star category really isn't that bad at all. So maybe I just have a bookshelf full of very highly rated books, but I don't think 3 stars is that bad. This is a very different genre for Jessa Hastings. I believe this is her first fantasy romance, so maybe that's why it's not got a great rating. Maybe people just prefer her Magnolia Park series to this. Who knows? But nonetheless, we are going to read Never by Jessa Hastings. So these are the 2 books I will be reading in this video. We've got The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna and Never by Jessa Hastings. And we will see if I agree with the ratings, if I rate them higher or lower. But I think I stand a very good chance at finding some new favourite books here. I'm not mad about it, I'm really not. So I am going to start with Never, because if this is the lowest rated book, the only way is up. Things can only get better, and I think I'm going to absolutely adore this book. So I will be back with my thoughts and feelings once I am about halfway through this. Right off the bat, this is so magical. We start off with Peter coming to collect Daphne, and we get that iconic scene that's like, "Come with me, where you will never ever have to deal with grown-up stuff again." But never is an awfully long time. I am just having the time of my life in this. I am on chapter 4, which is page 56. I'm having a great time. I will say it's reading a little bit slow because Jessa has this way of narrating a story just with a lot of words, we'll say. If you've read Magnolia Parks and you're familiar with Jessa Hastings' writing, she has a very distinct format, and it can be not difficult to read. I wouldn't say this is difficult to read, but it's definitely taken me longer than I thought it would. That's really not necessarily a bad thing, because I'm fully immersed in the story. I was from page 1, and I really am just having so much fun with this. So I'll be back with an update when I'm a bit further in. Hi, I know I said I would update when I was halfway through Never. I have now finished it. Not entirely sure how this happened, but I think that's a good sign. This book is just completely no plot, just vibes. Just vibes. It's very heavily character driven, so I can understand why people might not enjoy that. That is very typical for Jessa Hastings. It's very character driven, not a whole lot going on, just drama from start to finish. I get why some people might not enjoy this if they don't particularly like character driven books, and if you're not connected to the characters then you won't enjoy it necessarily. But that just wasn't the case for me. I absolutely loved the characters in this book. Jessa just has such a unique writing style that I've never experienced from any other author. She just has a way of making her characters feel so real, and her writing's so flowery, and she just has a way of making you fall in love with the story and with the characters. Her storytelling is so descriptive, so it's very easy to picture exactly where you are, exactly what's going on, what all the characters look like. I feel like even if you've not got a very imaginative brain, I feel like Jessa does it very well, where even people who struggle to picture things can still picture what's going on in this book. Does that make sense? The characters in this book, true to Jessa Hastings' style, are very toxic and very flawed, and I think for me that just helped me connect to them a bit better, because making them illogical and making them flawed makes them feel more real. It did make me feel a bit uneasy at times and a little bit uncomfortable. I think with the darker tones that are in this book and some of the heavier topics that are mentioned, it can make you feel a little bit uneasy, I guess. But that was the whole point of trying to get across to the reader that the characters, one in particular, if you've read this book you know who I'm talking about, that one of the characters in this book is definitely not what you expect them to be, and some of the things that are spoken about definitely highlight that they are a darker character than you would expect. But you're also trying to not think that they're a dark character because you want them to be good and you want them to be all sunshine and rainbows, but they're not. I do think this book should have come with maybe some trigger warnings. Not super heavy trigger warnings, but I don't know, some of the topics were just a little bit darker and I didn't expect some of the things that came up, and I think maybe I could have done with a warning before I went into it. But I also tried not to read any reviews before I went in, because I know that this book has been very controversial and some of the things spoken about people aren't happy with. I think it's important to form your own opinions and go and do your research if you want to research and understand why people don't like this book. But I think it's so important to just form your own opinions and don't base your thoughts on this book or your thoughts on the author based off what other people are saying. Everyone's entitled to their own opinions and reading is subjective. So what you might find triggering or what you might find a controversial topic, others might not agree. And for that, I'm not really going to comment on the controversy because, as I said, I think it's important to just go and do your own research, understand why people find this book controversial and form your own opinions based on your experience, not off what other people are saying. Because some of the controversial reviews that I've seen after reading this book, I don't 100% agree on. But that's all I'm going to say on that. The ending of this book absolutely broke me. You spend the whole time just rooting for one character or maybe rooting for two characters, and then you get to the end and you just feel so heartbroken. I was literally lay in bed like this, just staring at the ceiling because I felt empty, and that is so typical for Jessa. She doesn't write happy endings, she doesn't give you closure, she just puts you through it from start to finish. She's putting you through the shit. I absolutely hope that this is a series. I think it is going to be, because there's no way she can end this book the way it ended and not give me closure. Are you crazy? I also just have so many unanswered questions. When I was reading this, I was going through and making notes in my phone, like, why did they do this? Why has this happened? Who's this? Like, just constantly thinking, like, I don't really know what's going on. And basically none of my questions got answered. So I'm hoping she brings out another book so I can maybe understand a little bit more what happened and hopefully redeem myself from that ending, because what the fuck? All of that to say, I really, really thoroughly enjoyed this book. I was so scared going into it because I knew that people didn't enjoy it as much as maybe her other series, and I knew that people thought it was controversial and it didn't have a very high rating, which is why it's the lowest rated on my Goodreads physical TBR. I'm so glad this video made me give it a chance because it was just phenomenal. It still had that magical element that the classic Peter Pan story has, but it does also carry the darker topics like the J.M. Barrie story of Peter Pan. I just think it was absolutely beautiful. with flawed characters who you're rooting for or rooting against, and just this feeling of magic. I just really enjoyed it, and I have settled on 4 stars. Absolutely love this, and I really hope that there's more books coming because I need more from this world in particular. So now that we've read our lowest rated book on Goodreads, we can start reading the highest rated. As I said, I'm terrified to go into this book because it's so out of my comfort zone. I don't read historical fiction. I don't think I ever have. It's not something that I typically pick up. I was very kindly sent this, so I'm obviously going to give it a chance. And if it's got good reviews, it's got good reviews for a reason. There is a reason that people love this book, and I think it deserves a chance. So I'm going to get started on this, and I'll see if I like it. I really hope I do, but I'm just very nervous that I'm going to be in the minority that doesn't enjoy this just because of the genre it is. But the only way to find new books, new authors and new genres that you like is to try them and to try new things. So I'm excited to pick this up. I will try my best this time to give you an update when I'm around halfway through or whenever I have any thoughts. And hopefully the next time I see you, I've not already finished this. I need to really get better at updating when I'm halfway through. Bit of change of scenery. I'm now at my parents' house. I am 15% way through. I am 15% way. I am 15% of the way through The Nightingale. I am really struggling with this. I just can't seem to get into it and get into the story. When I'm picking it up, I'm really loving it. But as soon as I put it down, I don't want to pick it back up, and that's not a good sign. But by no fault of the books, it's a big me problem. I think because this is a new genre for me and it's not something I typically read, I'm just struggling with motivation a little bit. Maybe I'm getting in a reading slump, who knows. I have switched over to the audiobook, and I've been reading the audiobook and immersive reading on my Kindle. Because the writing in the book, like the font is quite small and condensed, so I'm finding it a bit difficult to physically read the book. So I switched over to my Kindle, which helped a lot, but I don't speak French. And I was struggling a lot with the pronunciation of names, places, etc. So being able to listen to the audiobook and hear the words that are written that I can't pronounce really helps, and I definitely enjoy the audiobook. I don't want to just listen to the audiobook on its own. I don't want to miss anything. I want to fully experience the story and not, I don't know, like when I listen to your audiobooks, sometimes things go over my head a little bit, or I get distracted and I'm like, oh, what just happened? And then I never go back and listen to it. I just think I'll pick it up later. But I am enjoying the audiobook. I'm just trying to make sure when I listen to the audiobook, I'm also reading on my Kindle. I don't know. I think just because this is not like my typical book that I would read, I am struggling with it a little bit. I think the further I get into the story, I will start to enjoy it more. I know this is meant to be a very heartbreaking or emotional book. I don't know. They're my thoughts so far. I'm 83 pages in. I am enjoying it, but I'm also struggling a little bit. Like with most of my books I read, I don't want to put them down, and that's exactly what I want as a reader. I don't know. Those are my thoughts right now. I'm obviously not very far in, and I do think my opinions are going to change. I really hope they do. As I said, it's nothing to do with the book itself. It is just a me problem, because this is not what I typically read. It's very new to me. I'm trying to broaden my horizons. Just really hope it doesn't put me in a slump, because I've been doing so well this month. I've been so motivated and just flying through books and having a really, really good time. And I really do feel right now that this book's gonna make me slumpy. I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna stick my headphones on and read a little bit more, and hopefully, if I persevere, I will start enjoying it more. I am now 200 pages into The Nightingale. This book is a lot longer than I thought it was. 200 pages is 37%. And when I looked, it says online that the book's like over 500 pages, which I just didn't think it was because my physical copy looked so small and I didn't check the page count. But anyway, I'm 200 pages in now. Definitely more going on now, and I am a bit more into the story and enjoying it better, but I feel like because it's taken me a hot minute to get through it, I need to be able to sit down and like dedicate time to this book to really consume it. Not light-hearted, it's not like quick and snappy. You really have to switch on to read it. But I have to go to work tonight, so I think I'm going to switch over to the audiobook. I have got just under 11 hours left, so I think in work I'm going to listen to the audiobook. I could probably finish that tonight because I listened to it on like 2 times speed. I am definitely enjoying it more now. Still struggling with the French pronunciations, but now that the stakes are getting a lot higher, I'm finding that I'm more immersed in the story. I'm enjoying it. To be honest, right now it's not the most incredible thing I've ever read. I don't not like it. But yeah, I'm going to switch over to the audiobook, go to work, because unfortunately I do have a job, and I'll let you know how I'm feeling. But those are my thoughts right now. Definitely enjoying it more. Stakes are getting higher, and I've got just under 11 hours left in the audiobook. I successfully managed to finish The Nightingale by Kristen Hannah, and I have a few things to say. I really struggled to get into this at the start. It's a very different genre for me. I've never read any historical fiction, and I feel like for that reason it made me feel a little bit slumpy at the start. So I switched over to the audiobook, and my experience from there was just up and up and up. So I did a little bit of immersive reading, and then I completely switched over to the audiobook, and it really changed the reading experience for me. I don't speak French, and there are a few things in here, because it is set in France, that were either in French or had like French pronunciations, and the audiobook changed that for me because it meant that I could consume the book without being confused. I thought this was going to be a historical romance, and while there was romance in this book, that's not what it's about. This tells a story of Nazi-occupied France in World War II and the lives of the women and the children and all the people who are left behind while the men go and fight in World War II. I think there was a quote in here somewhere that said something like, "Men think war is all about men," and this tells the untold story of all of the people who are left behind during a war. It was so beautifully written. There were parts that I thought were a little bit slow and probably could have been cut down maybe a little bit, but after finishing this, I don't think I would change change anything about it. I think every single thing in here was so crucial to the plot and the character development, and it really truly put into perspective what life was like for people and for countries in the 1940s. I didn't really feel connected to any of the characters throughout, and then all of a sudden I had like 60 pages left and I was crying, sobbing on every single page. Just out of nowhere, I just felt so connected to the characters. I was so incredibly heartbroken with everything that was going on. It was just one of the most beautiful and heartbreaking stories I've ever read. This book absolutely broke me. And if there's one thing I'm taking away from this, it's that new genres are going to be scary, but it doesn't mean you're not going to love them. And I definitely think I am going to pick up more historical fiction, and I am 100% going to read more from Kristen Hanna. And that successfully concludes this video. So first of all, I read Never by Jessa Hastings. I really truly love this. I love Jessa Hastings. I love the way she has this beautiful flowery writing, and I ended up rating this one 4 stars. I really thoroughly enjoyed this. And then of course I read The Nightingale, which I am giving 4 stars as well. I've managed to find 2 new 4-star reads. I've definitely rated Never higher than the average rating, which is great. And I definitely agree with the rating on Goodreads for The Nightingale. And I'm just so happy that I've managed to find new books that I love, a new author, a new series. Hope Jessa Hastings, please make that into a series if you're not planning on it already. But that concludes this video. I'm so happy right now. I feel like this was so thoroughly successful. If you did enjoy this video, thank you for watching. Like, comment, tell me if you've read either of these books, if you agree or disagree with my rating, and recommend some Kristen Hanna books that I can delve into, because I'm so eager to pick up more of her work now. If you want to see more from me, stick around, show some love, subscribe, and I will hopefully see you in the next one.